Hello, hello, hello. How's everybody doing today? Give a minute just to put my phone on charger because my battery was a little low. But I'm actually going to jump into the lesson today. Once again, we got a whole lot to cover and a little time to do it. Look at this. There we go. Get it adjusted. All right, how's everybody doing today? I'm Brother John on behalf of the Lost Sheep Ministry, on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministry. What up, Andy? Glad you're here, man. Appreciate you being here. Sister Rhonda, how you doing? Glad you guys are here, and I appreciate y'all being here. And Brother John Stewart, of course, on behalf of the Lost Sheep Ministries, on behalf of sponsored by River Lake Baptist Church. And we're here tonight to bring you guys another wonderful lesson on the life of Samson. If y'all saw the post earlier, or if you tuned into the video last week, you know that we're covering Samson over in the book of Judges. We're going to be in chapter 15 today, and we're going to continue to look at this life of Samson and the life that he lived, and where this life that he lived, how it ended up for him, which it did not end very well, to be quite honest. So, like I said, I normally wait a minute or two just to give people time to get in, but we got a lot to cover today, and I do want to do a review because a lot of the points that we talked about last week is going to come up again this week. It's going to be going to be a lot of referencing back to last week, and plus we got a few more points. I think about 10 more points, new points for this week as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump into it. So y'all remember, we've been doing the vicious cycle over the last few weeks. Of course, we stepped away for a little while because I wanted to share my testimony and go over the gospel and everything else as well. But now we got back to it, and we came back to it right here in the life of Samson. And the first chapter, the first part one, we just kind of looked at his parents' life, because you look at Samson's life, as we see, if y'all saw from last week, that he's a pretty hard-headed dude. He was breaking the rules and doing a whole lot of stuff that he wasn't supposed to do, and because of that, it was getting him in all kind of trouble, and it was getting people around him in trouble as well. So we looked at his parents' life to start off, just to see what kind of life they lived and what kind of people they were, and then we saw that they were pretty faithful people to the point where God sent his angel to actually talk to them in person. So then we talked about why do we sin? Why do we do a lot of the stuff that we do? And as we've been noticing as we've been going through this chapter, we notice there's two reasons I told you in particular. Often we don't truly realize how much our actions affect everyone in our world, everyone in the world, and everyone, especially everyone in our world. And we can't see the end result. And so far, all the points we've been covering was being really kind of looking at how it affects all the people in the world and all the people in our world. And unfortunately, the last one we won't see until the end, because like I said, we're going to see how it ends. And of course, if you know your Bible, which I hope you do, you know it doesn't end well for Samson. And we're going to see as we go through, we see he had plenty of times to get things right. We're going to see it a little bit more tonight. He had plenty of time to get things right and get on the right path and do what he's supposed to do. But he was just bound and determined to do what he wanted to do, which is sin, and that what kept getting him in trouble. So then last week we got into the actual, like I said, the first chapter. We started this in part one. We looked at his parents' life and saw they were faithful people. And then last week we started to look at Samson's life. We got into him. He was a young man. Like most young people, he was hard-headed, stubborn, and pretty arrogant. And because of that, he got into some trouble. So that we saw him that he started off sinning. So we had 12 points last week that we went over, and I'm just going to go over them real quick. But like I said, I'm not going to get into a deep review because several of them going to come back up tonight as well. So number one from last week was saying that one of the results of sin was lust and the ability to appreciate the blessings that God has given you. And we saw Samson went down. He was in this Philistine territory, and he saw this Philistine woman that for some reason she was very fine. I can only assume that she had some nice body parts that really attracted him, and he wanted her. And of course, we know that's against the rules. He was supposed to be involved with the Israelites, and especially with him being a Nazarite. He really should have been involved in Israelite. And we saw from his parents, the conversation he had with his parents, that this wasn't the first time that he had this issue of dating outside of his nationality, which he wasn't supposed to do. So lust and the ability to appreciate the blessing that God has given you was one of the first results of sin that we saw last week. Number two, we saw disobedience to God, your parents, and any authority figure, and basically just disobedience in general. Because we saw where his parents tried to talk him out of the situation. They realized that he was putting himself in a bad situation, and they realized that if he stayed on the path that he was on, it was going to end bad, and they tried to talk him out of it. But he wasn't concerned with listening to them. He wanted what he wanted, and he wanted that girl for whatever reason. So number three, so again, you just saw he was very disobedient to his parents, because had he listened to his parents, he could have avoided a lot of problems in life, just like us all. You know, I look back at stuff that I should have listened to and I didn't, and they would have saved me a lot of time and effort and heartache. But that's, I guess that's part of learning. But we're going to see this guy, he never really learned. So number three from last week was a lack of wisdom and discernment. You know, again, you know, his father was trying to tell him and guide him in the right direction and tell him, hey, you're making a bad decision. This is not something that you need to do. It's not going to end well for you. But he was so bound and determined to get this girl that he wouldn't listen to his father. He wouldn't take the wisdom that his father was giving him. So again, that's one of another results of sin. You have a lack of wisdom and discernment, because that's what sin does. It blinds your eyes to the truth that's around you. It blinds you to the fact of the things that's going on in your world, the things that's going on around you, and it blinds you to the path you're on. That's why a lot of people stay on that path until that path ends, and it never ends well for them, which is going to kind of happen. What's going to happen with Samson. Number four, it'll take you out of the will of God. Sin will take you out of one another results of sin. It'll take you out of the will of God. And we saw last week where Samson, he was over there near a vineyard. And of course, we know that as a servant of God, as a Nazarite, he wasn't supposed to be around grapes. So he shouldn't have been around a vineyard. And while he was out there around that vineyard, he ended up getting attacked by a lion. And of course, we talked about how it says on Peter, the devil walks about as a roaring lion seeking whom he devoured. And that's what he's looking for. When it's talking about seeking whom he's devoured, the devil is basically walking around looking for the people that's out of the will of God, because that gives him the ability to touch you. What up, cuz? I'm glad you're on here, man. And I've been praying from a cousin. I hope he's doing good. I hope y'all are all right. And just tell him we're going to keep him in his prayers, and pray God to keep his hand on him. He's been having some heart problems. And I pray everything work out for y'all. So I got y'all in my prayers, and I hope everything turns out for him. All right, so number four, it'll take you out of the will of God. We saw that Samson was out of God's will because he wasn't supposed to be near a vineyard, and because of that, he got attacked by a lion. But at the same time, it takes us to number five, which is not necessarily the result of sin, but something you can see when you live a life of sin. We saw that our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So even though Samson was somewhere he was wasn't supposed to be at, doing something he wasn't supposed to do, when that lion attacked him, the Spirit of God still came over him, and he had the ability to destroy the lion and to keep the lion from killing him. So God's Spirit came upon him. So it shows you that even though he was being hard-headed and doing stuff that he wasn't supposed to do, God was still with him, because God is faithful to us even when we're not faithful to him. So number six, and this is a big one, something that I've kind of learned over the years, and it's another thing you just blind to when you're living in the sin. Another result of sin is it always leads to more sin. And we're going to see that one come up again tonight. But it always leads to more sin. Sin leads to more sin. It's never going to be a point where you're sinning and sin going to be like, hey, you know what, you're doing too much. Let's calm down. It's always going to want you to do more and more and more. And again, we're going to see that tonight. It always escalates, and we're going to see that in the lesson again tonight. So that's one that's going to pop up several more times. Number seven, it'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. It'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. And of course, we talked about how God needs us to be faithful. He needs us to stay away from sin. He needs us to be good representatives of him. But a lot of times we give into our flesh, and because we give into our flesh, we give into our wants instead of God's needs, and it keeps us from doing the work and giving us the ability to build his kingdom. Number eight, it defiles you in the eyes of God. You know, we talked about how even Jesus experienced that. He was defiled. That's why when he's on the cross, he was like, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Because, of course, God can look upon Jesus because he had became sin. You know what I'm saying? So he was defiled so the Lord could look upon him. And that's why he had to turn his back on him. But it defiles you. Sin defiles you in the eyes of God. That's why we got to have the blood of Jesus to wash us clean in order for us to be able to enter into heaven. And not only does it defile you, when it defiles you, a lot of times on sin, you end up defiling the people in your world. And we saw what Samson was defiled because he touched a dead carcass of a lion, but then he also not only touched it, when some honey was, some bees had made some honey in it, he went and ate the honey, which was defiled, and then he gave the honey to his parents, which defiled them, but he didn't tell them that he had did it. So again, it defiles you in the eyes of God, but it also defiles the people around you as well. Number 9, it'll have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right ones. That's one of the most terrible results of sin. It puts the wrong people in your world. You know, and I talked about how for the longest when I was out there doing what I wanted to do, there was a lot of people around. They was always around. But since I've changed my life and given my life to God, those same people don't come around no more. You know, see, they didn't really need to be in my life in the first place, but it's because of the sin that I was doing and they was doing that we was doing together. That's what our bond was. So when I broke that bond and I got away from sin, I also got away from those people. Now there's some people that I used to kick it with back in the day when I was doing my bad stuff that I still kick it with because they were good people back in the day. But for the most of the people that I used to hang out with back in the day, I don't hang out with no more because I don't do those kind of things no more. So it'll help you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right ones. That's going to come up again. Number 10, pride. Pride, that's another result of sin. That's one of the main results of sin, really, pride. That's the same thing we talked about how over in Isaiah 14:13 through chapter 14:13 through verses 13 through 15, we talked about how that pride is what took the devil, what caused Satan to do what he did. So, you know, it'll cause pride in your heart, and of course, that'll pull you away from the Lord as well, because he wants you to be humble. Number 11 for last week, it negatively affects everyone, not just you. You know what I'm saying? All the violence, chaos, and drama that we see, especially what's going on in our world today, all that is results of somebody somewhere sinning. You know what I'm saying? So it negatively affects everybody in your world, not just you. You know, the sin has a tendency to convince you that, it's fun, you're just having a little fun, it ain't gonna hurt nobody, and that's a lie. You know, they say the devil is a lie, and that's a lie. It does hurt people, and again, we're gonna see that come up again tonight as well. And then number 12 from last week, it makes you regress instead of progress. You know what I'm saying? And I made the statement, you're not winning when you're sinning. I need to get that into a t-shirt. You're not winning when you're sinning. I think that'll be a pretty cool t-shirt. But it makes you regress instead of progress. And we saw how Samson, you know what I'm saying, because he had married this woman, he had went and worked and put them in place together so he can bring his wife. But then because of the sin and everything that happened, he ended up having to go back and live with his mom and dad. So he regressed instead of progress. And that's what sin will do. It'll take you backwards instead of pushing you forward. You know, and I know I've always taught my boys and try to teach them, because they're on their own, they're adults now, that, you know, when you're doing stuff you're not supposed to, yeah, you might feel like you're getting rewarded in the beginning, but it always takes more than it gives. It always takes more than it gives, and it always pushes you backwards instead of pushing you ahead. So again, that was just a real quick review from last week because I wanted to make sure I ended up doing 2 hours last week, which I didn't want to do. So I'm trying to keep them short, y'all, but it's so much here and there's so much goodness here that I definitely don't want to speed through it as well. So I pray that y'all was able to watch the last video, and I know some of you was in here and you cut out a little earlier, so I hope you went and finished up the video, but just so you're not completely lost tonight, that's why I went on the review. But if you want to get the details and what we talked about last week, you have to go back and watch last week's video. So again, tonight we're going to be in Judges chapter 15, and we're going to do another chapter. Like I said, I thought maybe I can do both of the last chapters, but it ain't going to happen because chapter 16 is a really long chapter, and this chapter got a lot in it as well, so, and I don't want to rush through. So this is going to be part 3, and then next week should be the finale and be part 4. So if you got your Bibles open, you want to follow along, we're going to be in Judges chapter 15. I'm going to go ahead and pray so I can jump into this lesson. Dear Lord, our Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us tonight, Lord. Thank you for keeping us all safe And thank you for giving us this opportunity to come here now to hear your word, to spend time with your word, so we can learn more about you and learn how to avoid the mistakes, how to avoid the sins, and get the sins out of our lives that we don't realize. So Paul talked about the sin, getting rid of the sin that don't so easily besets us. And that's exactly what sin does. But we don't see it because it does it gradually over time, and the whole time it's doing it is we're having fun while we're doing it, and it's giving us things that feeds our flesh, but it's not feeding our spirit, and therefore it's pulling us away from you. So that's the object of this lesson, to help people see how dangerous intentionally living a sinful life really is, and how important it is for us to get away from it, break away from those sins that easily beset us. Because the end of that road of sin, of course, you say it's over in Romans, the wages of sin is death. The end of that road is death, and it just slowly, gradually gets us there, and we're completely oblivious to it until we step outside the box and get away from that sin and give our hearts to you and start doing the things you want us to do. So I just pray you send your spirit down upon me tonight as I go through this next chapter. We look at this next chapter in Samson's life, Lord. I pray you send your spirit down upon me, give me the wisdom and the words I need to say to help educate others, and hopefully get them to want to and bring them under conviction to get the sin out of their life so they can have a closer relationship with you. And I pray you send your spirit down upon their hearts, to open up their hearts and their minds so they may receive the wisdom here tonight and apply it to their lives so they can have a closer relationship with you as well. We just thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for using me. Thank you for this ministry, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to get your word out to the world. And I pray you use it in a mighty way to honor and glorify your name, to build your kingdom. We love you and thank you for everything. And I say this prayer in your wonderful Son, in Jesus' name, amen. So give me some of this high quality H2O, and we're going to get started. So again, we're going to be in Judges chapter 15. It's going to be part 3. Now again, this is right after the last chapter. This may be a few weeks later, the last chapter, so it hasn't had that age gap just yet, because I believe between chapter 15 and 16, there's going to be like a time skip, and we're going to see Samson toward the end of his life, where this is here is kind of him as a young man. I would say somewhere between the ages of 24, 30. It don't specify specifically, so I'm just kind of guessing. But if I had to guess, I would say somewhere between the ages of 20 to maybe 24, 30, somewhere that's still that young, rowdy man, the time and period in your life. I know I was pretty rowdy up until I was 24, and then that's when I gave my life to the Lord when I was 24. So somewhere in that period is when we looking in Samson's life, and we're going to kind of give you the understanding of where he's at. He still haven't fully matured yet, so it kind of give you an understanding of where he's at mind-wise and why he's doing the silly things that he's doing. So we're going to start off in Judges chapter 15. And what up, Nana? Glad you're here, man. I appreciate you being here. I hope everything's going good down y'all way. I can't wait for that play, man. Let me know when you get that play rescheduled. I was planning on showing up there and surprise you, but y'all end up canceling. So keep me posted on that. So again, I'm in Judges chapter 15. Of course, I always like to announce I am reading out the New Living Translation, because my ministry is a lost sheep ministry. It's for people that don't spend time in their Bible on a regular basis, or don't have a close relationship with the Lord just yet, to where the Spirit speak to them and reveal the truths of the King James to them. So, but I am a King James believer. I read the King James when I do my reading, when I do my lessons, but I just like to read out of the New Living Translation to make it easier for people to understand, so they can get the lesson and get everything that's being said here today. So we start off in chapter 15, verse 1. Now remember how it ended. Yeah, now remember just a little bit of recap of how it ended. You remember, he went down, convinced his parents that he wanted to marry this girl, that he wasn't supposed to marry this Philistine, chasing some booty he wasn't supposed to be chasing. I've been there before. And end up, getting with this girl. He was out drinking and doing other stuff he wasn't supposed to do. So he gave these guys, some fake friends that he basically bought, some fake friends, invited them to the wedding, and then he gave them a riddle to solve, and he basically told them, like, if y'all can solve the riddle, then I give you 30 changes of clothes, 30 fancy robes, and 30 linen robes. But if not, y'all got to give me that. And basically, he was trying to come up off of them, because he knew they weren't gonna be able to solve the riddle. So the guys, they got upset because they couldn't solve the riddle, and they went and they got his wife and told her basically, like, we're gonna kill you and your dad if you don't get the answer to this riddle. So of course the woman went and she whined and complained, and got on his nerves to the point where he finally told her the answer, and she went back and told the answer to the guys that had inquired of her. So after that happened, they went back and told Samson the answer, and he got upset, and he went down to this other town, the Philistine town, and he killed 30 people, 30 guys, and robbed them of their clothes. So he became, we saw how his sin escalated. It started off with him just lusting after this girl, like I said, chasing a piece of tail he wasn't supposed to have, and it escalated to him end up murdering and robbing 30 individuals that had nothing to do with the situation. So then after that happened, he went back and paid the guys like he's supposed to, and then he got upset and he left. And, so he basically left the girl. And then you see at the end, the last line of chapter 14, it says, so his wife was given in marriage to the man who had been Samson's best man at his wedding. So again, that's what happened when you have fake people in your world and fake people around you. That kind of thing will happen, and that's what sin will do. It'll have the wrong people in your world. It'll have you in a world around fake people that you shouldn't be associated with anyway. So that's where it left off, where Samson was upset. He killed these guys. He left, and his wife was given to another man. So when we start off 15, it says, and later on, during the wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat as a present to his wife. He intended to sleep with her, but I'm sorry, I forgot to take my glass off. He intended to sleep with her, but her father wouldn't let him in. I really thought you hated her father explained, so I gave her in marriage to your best man. So that's going to be a reference back. Like I told you, I'm going to have a lot of reference tonight, but I'm going to have some new points as well. But that's going to be a reference back to point number 3 and number 9. And the point number 3 from last week was a lack of wisdom and discernment. This woman has just showed you already that she was unloyal. You know what I'm saying? You told her a secret, and she went back and told these guys that was going to possibly ruin you financially. So he already knew that she wasn't for him, but yet he tried to go back and hook up with her anyway. And you say, man, this guy's ignorant, but how many times do we do that? How many times we be in and out of relationship with people that we know we don't supposed to be in a relationship with? You see, you know what I'm saying? I see in I deal with a lot in my ministry. I deal with a lot of women that have been abused, that have been in abusive relationships. And, you know what I'm saying? They'll break away from these relationships and get to doing good, and then next thing you know, they right back with the same dude. You know what I'm saying? That's a lack of wisdom and discernment because of the sin that's in their life. Sin blinds you to the truth. Hey, you need to leave this person alone. This person is not good for you. This person is going to ruin your life eventually if you let them. But if you're stuck in your sin, you don't see that. It keeps you from having that wisdom and that discernment. So we see Samson didn't have wisdom. Why would you go back and try to be with a girl that you know she's already proven to you that she's not loyal, she's not for you? You know what I'm saying? The right dude come along with the right price, then guess what? She's gone that other way. But yet he tried to go back. So it shows you, that was one of the points that we talked about last week. It shows you that he has a lack of wisdom and discernment because he was a very sinful dude. But it also shows you, because like by the fact that dad even tried to see that, man, I thought you didn't like her. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure the dad was like, how could you want to be with her, want to love her when she betrayed you? Y'all marriage ain't even got started yet and she's already betrayed you. Why would you want to be with her, kind of thing? You know what I'm saying? So the dad he was vexed, but the fact that Samson had came back as well. But again, Samson was a man that lacked wisdom and discernment. And that's why he gonna get himself in a predicament that he's in, especially when you get over chapter 16 and you see when he dealt with the situation with Delilah. He had no wisdom. You know what I'm saying? He had no wisdom because, and I almost went to my next point, but he has no wisdom because of the sin he was in. But it's also a reference back to number 9. It'll have you accepting number 9 from last week. Is like I said, it'll have you accepting the wrong people and forsaking the right ones. You know what I'm saying? Sin it'll have you around the wrong people. It'll have the wrong people in your life. And that's something that I learned. I had to learn the hard way. Because especially, you know what I'm saying, from being in a black family, it's all about loyalty and we family and we blood and all that. And that's cool. But if you're going to be, if I'm loyal to you, I expect you to be loyal to me. And a lot of times that love and that loyalty is not reciprocated. So you'll be loyal to people that's not loyal to you. And those people end up bringing you down. You know what I'm saying? They end up bringing you down. Exactly. Exactly, LaShawn, Nana. It's the same thing. So those people end up bringing you down. So we had this loyalty. And again, that's what sin do. It blinds you to that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when I look at my friend group that I have today and the people that I hang with today compared to the people I used to hang with back when I was smoking weed and selling dope, none of them are around. I got maybe 2 or 3 that are still around, but they're around because they also changed their lives. You know what I'm saying? One of my, I call her my sister now. Her name was Jessica Big. I mean, she was just big. I don't, not to put her business out here, but she was a druggie, and that's what we did. You know, I had the drugs, and she needed the drugs, so she was always around and her family and stuff. And now, man, she's a mother. I mean, straight out. She be in a Bible, doing Bible studies with her kids and stuff. And sometimes we just laugh like, you know, could you ever imagine us doing this kind of thing? And we couldn't, because back in the day, we didn't see how important it was to do those things, to get into that life and have that good life and live our life for the Lord. You don't see that because of sin. It really blinds you to the truth that's around you, the people that's around you. And see, Samson, again, he was blinded to that fact because this lady has already proven that she's not for him. She's not loyal to him, but yet he's trying to go back and be with her. And that's what sin would do. Sin will put you in that situation. It'll blind you to the fact that you have a lack of wisdom and discernment, and it'll also blind you to the fact that you have the wrong people in your world. So that was kind of something that we discussed last week. But then here go a new point. So then after that, you know what I'm saying, the dad told her, like, look, I thought you hated her, father explained, so I gave her in marriage to your best man. He said, but look, her sister is more beautiful than she is. Marry her instead. So again, that's another reference back to number 3. He's like, look, no, she got another sister. She's just as beautiful as she is. Matter of fact, it says she was more beautiful. So I mean, if you really love this girl's already proven herself. She's not married. Maybe this will be a better one. Maybe this one will have your interest at heart. Why not check out and see? But he was so blinded that he didn't want to see that. He was so blinded by the sin, and he had such a lack of wisdom and discernment that he was upset that the one that he wanted wasn't given to him. And again, what I tell you, what sin does, it'll make your wants a priority over God's needs. So he was so upset that his wants weren't met that he's going to throw a hissy fit. So watch what it says. So next line it says, now this is the new point from the night that wasn't in last week's lesson. So in verse 3 it says, so Samson said, this time I cannot be blamed for everything I'm going to do to you Philistines. He said, in other words, what did he just do? He threatened them. He said, all right, this is how y'all want to play it, then now you can't blame me. So number 13 is this. This is something else. This is another result of sin. This is the 12th result of sin. It's number 13, but remember, one of the points from last week wasn't actually the result of sin. It was something that you can see because of sin. But number 13 is this. It'll make you a fool. That's what sin does. It makes you a fool. It makes you a fool because you keep, because what is a fool? And this is going to come up a couple more times, but what is a fool? A fool is somebody, because the Bible talks about 3 different kind of people in the Bible. It talks about the wise man, it talks about the simple man, and it talks about the fool. You know what I'm saying? The wise man is somebody that have a close relationship with God, and they have wisdom, so they're able to see, hey, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem in my life. This can take me down the wrong road, so therefore I'm going to stay away from this thing. You know, that's what a wise man, and it ain't necessarily, it don't even have to be affecting him. I've told y'all before, the reason why I never did crack, because I saw what it did to my mom and dad. So I was wise enough to say, hey, I'm not going to do this crack. You know what I'm saying? But there's actually people out there that think, oh, I'm strong enough. It ain't going to get me like it get them. And they try, and then they end up hooked on it and going down the same road that the other people went on. You know what I'm saying? So a wise man, he can see that, you know, says a prudent man or a wise man foreseeth the evil, and he, you know what I'm saying, and he keep himself from it. But a fool doesn't do that. Now, a simple man, and I also talked about a simple is somebody that just, they don't know any better. You know, I always think say it's funny because I got 3 boys, and I feel I got all 3 of these levels. I got my oldest one is foolish. My middle son is simple because he's highly functioning autism. So he's very intelligent, but he don't understand like social things. He don't understand how to interact socially. You know what I'm saying? So it's just simple, just certain things you have to explain to him that you think somebody would know, because socially, everybody know, like, you don't hit a girl back. You know what I'm saying? You don't hit a woman, kind of thing. We actually had to explain to him when he was little that you don't do that, because him and his sister, they get to bickering around, and one of the sisters hit him, and he go to him back, and I'm like, no, you can't hit a girl. Well, why not? Because in his mind, like, why not? She hit me, kind of thing. But we had to explain, like, socially, that's not acceptable for you to hit a girl. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you come tell us or whatever, but you don't hit her back. So he was simple. Now, once you explain something to him and explain the reason behind it, then he got it. Because the Bible says a simple can learn and they can become wise. So he got it. And then you got the wise man, of course, and then you got the fool. So you got the wise man, I explained, you got the simple, then you got the fool. A fool is somebody that doesn't learn. A fool is somebody that'll go and make the same mistake over and over and over again and expect a different result every single time. That's what a fool is. And we're going to see from Samson that he was a fool, and it's because he was so immersed in his sin. So right here he said, he made a threat. He said, this time I cannot be blamed for everything I'm going to do to you Philistine. And of course we see in the next couple of lines what he's going to do. He's going to throw a temper tantrum, and he's going to go mess some stuff up. So that's why I say he's a fool. So if you go over to the book of Proverbs chapter 29, verse 11, y'all got to go there. It's real quick. He said, a fool gives full vent to anger, but a wise person quietly holds it back. And that's, of course, that's a New Living Translation version. But he said a fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise person quietly holds it back. And that's what Samson's about to do. He's going to show you that he's a fool because he's about to throw a temper tantrum, and he's going to give full vent to his anger. You know what I'm saying? And see, a wise person won't do that. That was the one thing that always separated me, because I used to hate being from the hood. It's all about, being the biggest and the baddest and not let nobody, disrespect you, and somebody look at you wrong, you get an attitude and all that. And I never was on that. You know what I'm saying? So I always felt like, like I was weak because I wasn't so aggressive like everybody else in the hood was or still is. Like, I never had that aggression. I always saw a bigger picture, like, okay, yeah, that dude did me wrong, but I always thought out like what this gonna lead to. If I retaliate, if I do this, what it's gonna lead to. And at the end of that road, it never was worth it. You know what I'm saying? Because see, that was wisdom. I didn't know that was what it was at the time, but that was God having his hand on me from the beginning, and I would use my wisdom to see that, hey, this situation ain't even worth it. I'm just gonna let it slide. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a people that like that. And y'all hear me talk about my brother all the time. He's one of those people. He's not like that. Like, I mean, you look at him the wrong way, and he's ready to fight. He's ready to jump all over you. You know what I'm saying? Even ready to shoot you, you know what I'm saying, if you, depending on where you're at. You know what I'm saying? Because he don't have a lot of wisdom. You know what I'm saying? He does a lot of foolish things, and he don't realize it holds him back. And that's what's going to happen here with Samson. They didn't upset him. He wanted the girl he wanted, got married off. And even though they offered him another girl that was even more beautiful than the one he wanted, that wasn't good enough for him. So he's just going to give full vent to his anger. And that's what sin does. It makes you a fool. Because again, what does it say about that? It said, a fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise person quietly holds it back. And that's what sin does. It makes you into a fool. You know what I'm saying? Because you keep on messing with the same people. You keep on doing the same thing, expecting different results, and all you're doing is hurting yourself. That's one of the main things when I was talking to the guys in jail. I've been doing drug counseling over at the Hope Center in Camden. And the younger man, I just met him last week, and I got to go meet with him this week. And I told him, I said, the main thing, I said, while you in this center, it's going to be easy to stay away from the drugs and all that because everybody's on the same thing. I said, but your true challenge is going to be what you're going to do when you get out of here. I said, but more importantly, who you going to go hang with when you get out of here. I was like, because if you go to the same environment you was in before you came in here, and you go hang around with the same people that you was hanging around with before you came in here, you're going to be back in the same situation, and you're going to either be back in here or even worse, you're going to be dead. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be dead. So you got to be careful with that because that's foolish. You know what I'm saying? You already know hanging with those people. Like I said, that's why I don't hang with a lot of people that I used to hang with because I know they still doing the same things that we used to do back in the day. And I'm not about those things. And I don't even want to put myself in a position where I'll be tempted by those things. So you got to be wise enough to know, like, hey, I don't need to be in this situation. I know my pastor said all the time. It's so true. If you're having a struggling with alcohol, you don't need to go work in a bar. That's foolish. Why would you want to be around it? You know what I'm saying? That's foolish. And you got to understand, sin makes you foolish. It'll put you in a position where you be foolish, and it keep you from having the wisdom you need to make you put yourself in a better situation. And that's what Samson here, we're going to see that he's going to be very foolish because he's been so used to living in sin. Even though he was dedicated to God, he was still just a sinful man. So because he didn't get what he wanted, he's going to throw this temper tantrum and watch what he's going to do. So in verse 4 it says, so it said, this time I cannot be blamed for everything I'm going to do to you, Philistines. So other way, he just threatened them. Like, I'm finna mess y'all up, basically. You know, he just gave him a threat. So watch what he did. So it said in verse 4, it says, so then he went out and caught 300 foxes. He tied their tails together in pairs, and he fastened a torch to each pair of the tails. Then he lit the torches and let the foxes run through the fields of the Philistines. You think about it, that's pretty amazing. Like, if you really think about it, 300 foxes. Now, of course, that was way back in the day, and I don't know if foxes were just abundant like that, where they would just run around, you can go catch 300, but I'm pretty sure, foxes usually got like dens and stuff, and they some pretty crafty, because that's why people even say, as crafty as a fox or sly as a fox, because there's some pretty crafty animals. For him to be able to catch 300 of them, that's actually, if you think about it, that's a miracle in itself. You know what I'm saying? That's actually pretty amazing. So number 14 is this. This is going to be my number 14, because that's an amazing thing he did. That's really a miracle, but it's for the wrong reason. So number 14 is this. This is something else sin to do. It'll make you productive, ... but for the wrong reasons. You'll be productive, but for the wrong reason. You know what I'm saying? You're productive, but you're productive to feed yourself. You're productive because you want to make money. You're productive because you want to have a big house. So you're out here selling these drugs, and you're out here working all these jobs. And instead of going to church on Sunday, you're going to work so you can get some extra overtime, so you can have money to go get your drugs or your alcohol or to buy your house or hook up with girls, whatever it is your device is. You know what I'm saying? You're productive. Yeah, you're productive, but it's for the wrong reason. You know what I'm saying? You're not out there doing things to build God's kingdom. You're out there doing things to satisfy your flesh. And that's what sin do. It didn't make you productive. Yeah, I've met some people that are in sin and they very productive. You know what I'm saying? I know some drug dealers that they are true hustlers. You know what I'm saying? I know people that are true hustlers, but they're not hustling so they can build God's kingdom. So therefore, they're not being productive in the right way. They're being productive. Yes, they're making money. Yes, they have nice houses. They have nice cars. You know what I'm saying? They have girls. They have all those things. But all those things are doing nothing but pulling them away from the Lord. So they're productive, but not in the right way. Because like I said, that was an amazing thing. 300 foxes. Could you imagine that? Catching 300 of them. I mean, what did he keep them at? Because I mean, I'm pretty sure he just went and just grabbed 300 and just ran. You know what I'm saying? Took them somewhere. He had to like build some kind of cage or a den or something like that to keep them in while he went and hunted for the other one. That was an amazing thing, but it was for the wrong reason. It wasn't so he can rescue the Israelites like he's supposed to be doing. It wasn't so he can go glorify God like he's supposed to do. It was because he wanted to throw a temper tantrum and go get revenge because his wife was giving away to his best man. So again, he was productive, but not in the right way. And that's what sin does. Like I said, it'll make you productive. Man, dudes that smoke weed, they get up early so they can smoke weed. You know, dudes that sell drugs, they stay up late all night so they can sell those drugs. They're being productive, but with the things they're doing, what is it doing? It's destroying people's lives. You know what I'm saying? It's destroying neighborhoods. You know what I'm saying? So it's being productive, it's being productive, but not in a good way. You know what I'm saying? If they put that, and I always tell people, like when I see, not some I hate, like scammers and, the con artists and people like that, they always, cheating old people out of their money and things like that. Got all these scams they can do, and they can hack your computer, send you an email and hack your computer and steal your information. And I always think like, man, if these people could put that same amount of energy into doing right, man, how much better, would the world be? You know what I'm saying? It was so many guys that I met in jail, because a lot of times when you think about jail, you just think about just ignorant people, just a place full of ignorant people, and that is so far from true. There was so many talented, intelligent guys that I met when I was going to the jail. I mean, just can freehand draw. I can sit here like this, and they can freehand draw me, and it look just like me. I mean, so talented, but they weren't putting no talent to good use. You know what I'm saying? They were living lives of sin. They was doing things that they weren't supposed to, and that's how they ended up in jail with all that talent and all that intelligence just being wasted. You know what I'm saying? Because they were being productive, but not for the right reasons. And then you got to understand that's what sin does. It puts you on the path. Again, yes, it'll make you productive. You know what I'm saying? It'll make you hustle. It'll make you grind. But you're not doing it to build God's kingdom. You're doing it to satisfy yourself and your flesh. And therefore, it's holding you back. And it's not pushing you forward. You know what I'm saying? It's not truly productive. I always tell people there's nothing on this world you can do more productive than doing God's work. There's nothing a human being can do that's more productive than soul winning. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing you can do that's more productive than reading your Bible. There's nothing you can do that's more productive than praying. There's nothing you can do more productive than teaching people about the Word of God. That's being productive. So if you put that same energy that you spend to do these sins into doing these sins that's going to feed your flesh, into doing something that's going to build the kingdom of God, that's true production. You know what I'm saying? Now, if Samson was doing this, so he can, and of course, it's going to end up lead him down the path to being able to rescue Israel, because all this conflict that he's causing. You know what I'm saying? This right here, matter of fact, this is the first major conflict. This is going to be the thing that's going to start the first major conflict with the Philistines. That's going to allow them to eventually be able to kind of wipe them out and rescue Israel. You know what I'm saying? But that's only because of Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to them that love the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So only because the Lord was still working in this, even though he was doing this stuff he wasn't supposed to do, it's going to end up working out in the end, but it's going to end badly for him as well, because he's doing something not to do God's work, but to truly just to honor and glorify himself. You know what I'm saying? To fill his flesh, because he want to get his revenge because he's being foolish right now. His wife that he wanted was given away. He's all mad and upset. So he's going to throw in a big fit, and he's going to catch these foxes and light these people's fields on fire. Again, if you think about it, that was a mighty 300 foxes. Could you imagine the work and effort it took to catch 300 foxes? I don't care if you do got the Spirit of God on you. That still took a lot of work to catch them. So he was being productive, but it was for the wrong reason. And that's what sin would do. So number 14, sin will make you productive, but for the wrong reasons. Because you'll be productive to do something to satisfy your flesh instead of being something productive to do something to take care of your spirit, to feed your spirit. So he catches all these foxes and he let them run through the fields. And it says this. It says, so he tied all the tails together in pairs, and he fastened a torch to each pair of the tails. Then he lit the torches and let the foxes run through the fields of the Philistines. He burned all their grain to the ground, including the grain still in piles and all that had been bundled. He also destroyed their grapevines and their olive trees. So what did he just do? He just vandalized the Philistines. He just vandalized. So now he's a vandal. So there's going to be two things. There's going to be point number 15, but it's also going to be a reference back to number 6. And what was reference number 6? Number six is this: sin will always lead you to more sin. So now he's a drunkard. You know what I'm saying? Because he wasn't supposed to be drinking. He defiled himself because of the drinking. He's killed some men, which defiled himself as well because of that. He robbed them. He became a robber. Now he's a vandalist. You know what I'm saying? He just vandalized these people. So number 6, it always leads to more sin. But number 15 is that, and number 6, and always, matter of fact, it's another reference to number 11 as well. So, because number 11 said it negatively affects everyone, not just you. Because that's what he's doing by burning these things down. He just negatively affected the Philistines. And how did he do that? Because he brought about financial difficulties. Because you got to understand, back in the day, you know, that we farm today, some people just farm, I want me to have me a little garden and farm. But back in the day, that was their income. You know what I'm saying? They farming was their income, and it was also the way they fed themselves. So it was kind of a dual thing that they did. They did it to feed themselves and their family, but they also did it because that's how they made money. So for him to go and burn their fields up, he just caused them financial difficulties. And that's what sin will do. It'll bring about financial difficulties in your life. It will. You know what I'm saying? I think about it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Of course, up until when I started selling it, I didn't lose as much money on it. But actually kind of toward the end, because I gave it all away when I gave my life to God. But I think about all the years up until I started selling marijuana, because I was smoking marijuana, probably, I started when I was about 19, so around 19, 20, and you know what I'm saying? And I was smoking it really up until 3 years ago. So I think about and then I look at my financial situation now, you know, how broke I am and debt and all that. And I think about it, all the money that I spent, you know, on marijuana. You know what I'm saying? Or all the money I spent on gas to go get the marijuana. You know what I'm saying? All the money, all the time that I spent, you know what I'm saying, chasing the marijuana, going to find the marijuana, doing all those things, you know what I'm saying? I didn't realize that it was bringing. I think about what if I had all the money back that I spent on drugs or going to get drugs or whatever, I'll probably be financially straight right now. If somebody just gave me a check like, hey, we somehow kept tabs on all the money that you spent on weed, here you go. Man, I'd probably be able to pay off all my debt and buy me a house. That's how much money I spent over the period of time that I was smoking this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's what sin do. It'll bring about financial difficulties. You know what I'm saying? You see most drug addicts, they're always broke. You see, the kids are broke, especially like the meth. You go, you see these kids where their parents are really addicted to their meth. I mean, they just live in poor conditions. A lot of times they don't even have food. I know, again, when I was younger, my mom was on that crack. A lot of times we didn't have food, even though she got government assistance to get food. You know what I'm saying? They would give her food stamps. She would get food stamp every month, and she would go and sell the food stamp to the drug dealers or other people's, and sell the food stamp. So instead of buying food, she sell the food stamp so she can go get more drugs. You know what I'm saying? They gave her a welfare check, and instead of spending it, getting us clothes and stuff that we need, and necessities we need, she would go and pay her previous drug debt off and start a new tab, basically. You know what I'm saying? So we was always broke. That's why I always got messed with when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? I used to wear jogging pants. I had when I was a kid, I had 2 or 3 pair of jogging pants and 2 or 3 shirts, and I just interchanged them every day. I just mixed and matched them every day. But that was mostly my outfits. You know what I'm saying? I used to get teased all the time, and because I never had nice stuff because it was always broke because all her money went toward the drugs. You know what I'm saying? And I would live with my grandmother, and she tried her best, but she was taking care of 5 or 6 people at the time because she had my nieces and nephews, my cousins that their mom had passed away, and my grandma kind of got custody of them. So she was getting a few dollars for them, but that was for them. It was 3 of them, and then it was me and my brother. Then we had a couple of other people that were staying in the house. So she can only do so much, but all those financial difficulties was coming because of sin. And that's what sin does. So you got to understand, for him to go and burn down these people's fields again, this was the way they fed themselves. They literally fed themselves from that, and that was how they made their income. And he went and destroyed all of that. So he caused them to have to go through this financial difficulty because this the harvest season. So that means that the harvest season over. It ain't like they got enough time to go back and replant. So there was most likely some people that end up starving throughout the winter because of this man burned their fields down. And it's all because this, and you got to think about it, you know what I'm saying? I think we kind of lose sight, and I always like to bring it out. This all started because he saw some piece of booty that he wasn't supposed to have that he wanted. This all started all this. So now these people are going to be in financial ruin because of him. So again, that's why I say it negatively affects everyone, not just you. All this stuff is happening, but y'all notice something. You notice something, and this is why I keep doing it, because like I said at first, it hasn't really affected him just yet. It's affected everybody around him. Those 30 guys from Ashkelon, he killed them and, took their lives. But it hasn't affected him just yet. Now, he did lose his wife in the process, the woman that he wanted to be his wife in the process, but in reality, that was a good thing because she wasn't loyal anyway. She wasn't loyal anyway, so really that was a good thing. That was probably a blessing that she was given to another man to marry. You know what I'm saying? But you see how it affects. So it brings about financial difficulties. It always leads to more sin. Sin always leads to more sin. And it negatively affects everyone around you, not just you. It affects everyone in your world. Everyone in the world is affected by sin. Think about it. Why are we sin? Why do we have to deal with sin now? Because of what Adam did. You know what I'm saying? So we've all been affected by the bad decision that Adam and his wife made. So you see, sin affects everybody. It's not. Don't let the devil convince you, or don't let your heart convince you that it ain't hurt nobody. That is a lie. That's a lie straight out of hell. You know what I'm saying? It hurts everybody when you're out there. If everybody had the wisdom to just do what they follow the word of God, and everybody do what they supposed to do to build God's kingdom, we will have a wonderful world. We will have paradise. But everyone want to do it because it was so many people that's too weak that they always give into their flesh and always give into sin. And that's why our world and our country, especially, and our world is in the situation that it's in now because everybody don't have the wisdom to do what they supposed to be doing. You see what I'm saying? So number 15, it'll bring about financial difficulties, and that's what sin will do. You'll spend all your money. You look at alcoholics; they're all, like I said, they're always broke. You know what I'm saying? Always borrowing to get more alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Can't keep a job because they drunk all the time. Same with drug addicts, especially the meth addict and the hard drugs, the coke and the crack and things like that. Even even weed. You know what I'm saying? I know guys that can't get jobs because they can't get past the piss test because they can't stop smoking weed long enough to do so. You know what I'm saying? And again, I'm not pointing the finger at y'all like, oh, you people are terrible, like I ain't never did it. I almost missed a good job because of weed one time. I did tell y'all the funny story, now move on. I don't want to get too far because I still got a lot to cover. But I had this job one time before the job that I had, the last chemistry job I had before I moved here to got this chemistry job. I had, like, it was you start off as a temp service. And when you start off a temp service, all you got to do is take a urine test, which I had stopped smoking marijuana long enough because I knew it'd take about 6 weeks to get out of my system because of my size and the amount I was smoking and everything. So about 6 weeks before it was time for me, when I first started looking for the job, I stopped smoking weed, basically. And it took me about 6-7 weeks to find the job. So I found a job, took the initial urine test, and I was fine. Well, it turns out you start off as a temp. Everybody starts off as a temp. And they give you 6 months. And at the end of 6 months, if you're able to survive there and maybe able to do the work and they feel you're worthy, they'll offer you a full-time position. And when they do that, you have to take another drug test. But you have to they take your hair. Now, see, the problem with that is a urine test, you can get, you can pass a urine test in 6 to 7 weeks. But hair, it goes all the way down it goes back years. It goes back years. So I had to figure out how am I going to get this job because I had only been stopped smoking for a few weeks before I started working there. So even though it was going to be 6 months before I had to take that hair test, still it goes back years. So what happened was I happened to find this out before I started, and so I always kept my haircut low, because my hair was cut low anyway at the time. But I always made sure that it stayed low. I never let it grow out. So then, about 4 weeks before my 6 months was coming up, and I was still there, and people told me, like, man, they're going to offer you a full-time position. So what I had to do to get this job, because they said if your hair, and they knew they can't take it from your beard because people shave all the time, so they knew it wouldn't be fresh, old hair or whatever, because you can just easily shave. And they couldn't take it from my head because my hair was long. I never kept my hair long. So they said what they would do if they can't take it from your hair, from your head, they just take it off of your body. Even if they take, they might even take your pubic hairs or whatever. So what I did about 4 weeks before my 6 months came up, I had to shave my entire body. Like, I shaved everything from the rooty to the tootie. And it is so fun. I can't believe I'm sharing this with y'all. But I actually had my wife shave my butt crack. Just this is why I love her. And she gonna kill me for telling y'all this. But I actually had my wife shave my butt crack in case they would try, because I had long hairs in my butt crack. So just in case they tried to take the hair from my butt crack. I shaved. I didn't have a hair on me. And I did it long enough to where, like I said, I did about 4 or 5 weeks before my 6 months came up. So by the time the 6 months came up, the hair would have grown back. And it didn't look like I shaved. It just looked like I just didn't have hair. And that's exactly what happened. I went to the place, and they said, well, it's not, you can't take it off your head and can't take it off your beard. Then they had me remove my shirt. And, of course, like, it was some hair there, but it was just like little small hairs. So they ended up calling me my company, like, well, he don't have any hair he don't have any hair for us to take. So my company initially was like, well, we can't offer him a full-time position because his hair is not long enough. Now, what happened was, and it worked out in my favor, me and my supervisor was really cool. She was a young lady, and she was really cool. And you know what I'm saying? I was really a good worker. So she got upset, and she like, oh, that's racist. What they saying? He ain't white enough to get this job. And she just made a big stink. And I didn't say nothing. This was her. And she made a big stink about them. That's discrimination, that they're not allowing me to have a job because my hair is not long enough or whatever. So the lawyers, like corporate lawyers and everything, got involved. And they like, well, we can't do that. So what they told me to do, to go back and take another urine test. And as long as I passed the urine test, I got hired on, and I ended up getting hired on. So that was really just about the grace of God. And that was the first time that I was making I think my pay was like $20 or something like that at the time. So that was gonna be the most I had ever made, and I almost missed that job because of marijuana. So again, the whole point of that is, when you do stuff you're not supposed to do, it would bring, sin would bring financial difficulties in your life. You know what I'm saying? That job really helped me get to the next. It helped me get to the next level. It helped me get to where I am now. So that job was essential for my growth, but I almost missed it because I couldn't put the weed down. Or because, matter of fact, because I picked it up in the first place. Because like I said, that when they go by your hair, you know what I'm saying, they can go back years. So even if I hadn't been smoking for 2-3 years, if my hair hadn't been long enough, they still would have been able to saw at some point I smoked. And if you smoked at any point, then you can have that job kind of thing. So I almost missed the opportunity for growth and to get to where I am now because I picked up marijuana. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand that's what sin does. I'm sorry, y'all. This thing, I've been trying to get it to act right. It's been... So if y'all see me keep doing this, I'm trying to get it stuck down. My little stand is not want to stick anymore. So again, so that was just a little funny story, but that's what happens. It causes foundation difficulties. So back to the story, that's what happened here with Samson. He threw a fit, you know what I'm saying? He was being a fool. They upset him because they gave his wife away. He couldn't get the girl he wanted, and he went and caught all these foxes and let them run through the fields, and it burned all these people's stuff down. So that's probably, if you think about it, the grain that they lost, not only the grain that they lost, the damage to the field, that was millions and millions of dollars in property damage that this man caused. So, which made him a felon vandal as well. So again, it'll bring about financial difficulties. It always leads to more sin, and it negatively affects everyone, not just you. And we see all this because of this man's action. And again, this all this stuff is happening because of his sin. So in verse 6 it says, so who did this? The Philistines demanded. Of course, they want to know who did it because they just lost a lot of, y'all. They just lost a lot of money. They lost their crop for the year, and they're going to really be in a bad situation. So they said, who did this? The Philistines demanded, and Samson was to reply because his father-in-law from Timnah gave Samson's wife to be married to his best man. So watch what happened, y'all. Again, this is what sin does. So it says, so the Philistines went and got the woman and her father, and he burned them to death. So once again, what's happened? It negatively affects everyone, not just you. So again, but he's the one being affected. So you got 2 more deaths. So far, we got 32 people that have lost their life, all because of one man going somewhere he's not supposed to go, wanting something that he's not supposed to have. You know what I'm saying? All because of the sin of one man. We got 32 people that has lost their life, not to mention millions of dollars in property damage. So you see, again, that's a reference back to number 11. It negatively affects everyone, not just you. Look at all these people that's been affected because one man wanted to go get a piece of booty that he wasn't supposed to have. And you see what I'm saying? You see what's happening? And it just constantly snowballs. It never gets better. It just constantly snowballs. So now they killed his wife, so that all the very woman, the very reason he was doing all this was for this woman, and now because of his actions, she's dead. And said because he did that. It was the results of his sin. You know what I'm saying? She lost her life. So now he's upset. And of course he was a fool, so he's upset. So he says, because you did this, Samson vowed, I will take my revenge on you, and I won't stop until I'm satisfied. So he attacked the Philistines with great fury and killed many of them. Then he went to live in a cave in the rock of Etham. So once again, we see the foolishness. He got upset. No, he caused all this. So in reality, he should have been like, oh man, this was my bad. You know what I'm saying? That this happened, then I need to change my ways. I need to stop doing what I'm doing because look at what just happened. No, he got upset and threw another temper tantrum, and he went and he attacked these Philistines and said he killed many of them. So now that don't give a number. I always like to use, because it said many. So I would say, it don't really give a number. It don't say it was soldiers or whatever. He just killing regular people, but it did say many. So just for the sake of argument, let's say 50. That's a lot. It might have been 100, and I don't know how many it was. It just said many people was killed. So we're gonna say for the sake of the story, to move the story along, let's say 50. So you got the 50 that he just killed here because he's being foolish and throwing a fit because of the sin in his life. And he got the 30 that he killed and robbed when he needed to get those linen clothes to pay that bet. And then he got his wife and his father that was killed. So far, 82 people have lost their lives, all because 82 people have lost their lives, not to mention countless others have been affected because of the financial burden that he caused by burning them fields down. All because of one man making bad decisions. See what I'm saying? So again, number 11, it affects everybody. It negatively affects sin, negatively affects everybody, not just you and not even just the people in your world. It affects everybody. You got to understand that. Reference number 13, sin makes you a fool. We see that he's foolish because of the things he's doing. But also, he's going to be another new point. Number 16 is this. It'll lead you into a life of turmoil and instability. That's what sin does. It leads you into a life of turmoil and instability. Because what happened? You notice it said he attacked the Philistines with great fury and killed many of them. Then he went to live in a cave in the rock of Etham. He couldn't even go home no more. He couldn't even go home no more. He didn't have a home to go to because of his actions, because of his sins. You know what I'm saying? Now, some guys, those people that the wilderness guys, they're like, oh, well, man, he get to go camp out. That's cool. No, man, I want to be at home. I want to be in my bed. Camping is cool for a few days, but he had to go live there because of the things that he had been doing. He had to go live there because of the sins that he had been committing, that now he has no instability. And again, you see that. You see that a lot of times. You see that with drug addicts. They always hopping from one place to another. You know what I'm saying? It's instability in their world. I know when I remember when he first moved up here. It's weird since we moved to this town. For this last 8 years since we've been here, we've had somebody staying in our house, or another person that's not from our family, not one of our kids, in our house that we've been taking care of. And the first one, it was because of the sins of the parents. The first time that happened, my son Cornez had a friend. And like I said, Cornez, he's a kind of a unique individual, so to speak. And he really didn't have a lot of friends because he's not very social. So he met this one kid and they became friends. And so one day, like, man, my friend want to spend the night. So we're like, oh, man, you got a friend? Cool. You know, that's fine. No, he come spend the night. And this kid came and spent the night with us. And this kid ended up living with us for probably like a year or so. Like, you know, like he came and spent the night and he never left because his parents was on drugs. You know what I'm saying? So he never knew I'm sorry, y'all, this thing keep on turning on me. But he never knew if he was going to have a home to go to. Or when he did go home, he didn't have food to eat. He didn't have any clothes. He didn't have anything. His life was very unstable. You know what I'm saying? So we allowed him to stay with us for the longest. His name was Dylan. He went to church with us. Matter of fact, he was the first person that I ever led to the Lord. Led him to the Lord in my house because and this was before I really got into soul winning. And I remember, that's when we started getting into it, but I hadn't really, gotten into it doing it myself just yet. And the kids one night they came to me and said, hey, Dad, this guy, his name was Dylan. He's like, Dylan, he's not saved. And we were just talking to him. He said he wanted to get saved. He's like, could you show him how to get saved? And at that point, I had been out soul winning, but I had never actually went over the gospel to somebody. So I like, sure. And man, I was so nervous, and I just took a track and I kind of bumbled and stumbled through it. But, at the end of it, he ended up accepting the Lord as his Savior. So he was the first person that I ever led to the Lord, But like I said, he ended up staying with us for the longest because his home was so unstable because his mom was always, his dad was, I think his dad had passed, and his mom was always chasing drugs and chasing men. Like the drugs and the men that was in her life was more important than their kids. Same thing with me. You know what I'm saying? We used to go, we'll have a house, we'll move into a place, be there for a few months or two, a month or two, maybe 3 if we're lucky. And then eventually, mom wouldn't pay the rent and we had to move out. And we ended up moving back with my grandma. I can't tell you how many times we moved to a place, stayed there for a few months, and then we moved back with my grandma. Moved to a place, stayed there for a few months, moved back. It was very unstable. Matter of fact, in my childhood, I went to 2 or 3 different elementary schools because we moved around so much. You know what I'm saying? So it was a very unstable lifestyle because of the sins that my parents were committing. This young man that was staying with me had a very unstable lifestyle because of the sins that his parents was committing. And we look at Samson, his lifestyle is unstable because of the sins that he's committing. He's living in a cave. He can't even go home because of the sins that he's committed because he got people after him because he's out there in the streets doing stuff he's not supposed to be doing. He's out there chasing women that he's not supposed to be with. He's out there doing things he's not supposed to be doing. So his life is really in turmoil right now. You know what I'm saying? He's killed people. Again, you got to understand, y'all, he's killed people. And again, he defiled himself. He said he attacked them and killed many of them. So if he killed them, then he had to touch dead bodies. So he's once again around dead bodies. And if y'all remember for the first lesson, you remember one of the rules was he was a Nazarite. He couldn't defile himself by being around dead bodies. Well, guess what? He's killing people. So he's around dead bodies. So that takes us back to the other point. That was point number, I forgot to include that one in there. That was point number 8. It takes us back to point number 8 from last week. It defiles you in the eyes of the Lord. So you see, he's building up. He's doing more. So now he's a murderer. He just murdered more people. So the sin constantly building up. It always leads to more sin. So he just murdered more people. He's become a fool. You know what I'm saying? He's defiled himself. And now he's got this life of instability and turmoil, all because of his sin. These are all results of sin. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of people, it's so weird because we can't see it. When we in sin, we can't see. I'm sorry, y'all. Somebody messenger me while I'm trying to preach. But it's so weird. We can't see it while we in it. We don't see, how it's affecting us. We don't see how it's affecting our spirit. We don't see how it's affecting the people in the world around us. You know what I'm saying? We can't see it while we in it. And that's what's going on. He don't see it. He don't see that he's bringing this turmoil and he's bringing this instability into his life because of the life he's living. The decision that he's making is what's causing these things. You know what I'm saying? He's thinking, and a lot of people, man, just bad luck. Or they want, God just picking on me. God just no, it's the decision that you're making is the reason why your life is in such turmoil. Again, y'all hear me talk about my brother a lot because a lot of this stuff relates to him. You know what I'm saying? He's very unstable. He's kind of one of those people. He's from house to house, from job to job. I don't think he's ever been in a job longer than a year. You know what I'm saying? He's always going from job to job. And he's just like, man, he always got the statement, I can't seem to win for losing. Yeah, because you keep on doing stuff you're not supposed to do. You're doing a lot of stuff you're not supposed to do. You're not reading your Bible like you're supposed to. You don't go to church at all. You know what I'm saying? And you do a lot of other things that you shouldn't be doing. And you're wondering why your life is in such turmoil. It's because of the sin that's in your life. That's what sin does. You know what I'm saying? It's so weird that we think we can do what we want to. We can live our life the way we want to live our life. Say what we want to say, go where we want to go, do what we want to do. And we expect God to bless that. God is not going to bless sin. You know what I'm saying? You're lucky to even the fact that you still are is a blessing enough, that the fact you're still alive and you up and you still got the ability to do those sins is really blessings enough. That's God's mercy there and grace there. But he's not going to bless you. You're not going to have an abundance. You're not going to have peace in your life. You're not going to have stability if you live in a life of sin. It's just not going to happen. I remember when I first started the Lost Sheep Ministry, this couple came, these people came, my very first meeting. I'll never forget. And you know what I'm saying? And the lady was with a dude and she was married, had been married and divorced. And then she was married a second time, but she wasn't with the guy that she was married to. They were separated, but she had this other guy that she was staying with. And she was just like, man, I don't understand, like, why I got, you know what I'm saying, why stuff is always going wrong, all that. I'm like, lady, you are living in sin. God is not going to bless this. You know, they was having, and the guy she was with, they was having a relationship problem. I'm like, I can't see how you expect God to bless this. You're not living the way you're supposed to live. This is not how a relationship's supposed to be. This is not a godly or a biblical relationship. No, of course, God is not going to bless that. How can you expect it to bless it? But we do that. We think we can do what we want to do, live how we want to live, and expect God to still give us blessings. If you read, and the Israelites did that too. Matter of fact, that's why we're in Judges, because they're doing those same things. You know what I'm saying? Because God said, stay away from idols. And they kept on going back to worshiping idols. That's why we in this book called Judges, that's why we constantly having this vicious cycle. You know what I'm saying? That's why we had those vicious cycles, because we do what we want to do and we expect God to bless him. And that's not how God worked. Because if you look, whenever he gave the commandments, whenever God made, if you read through the Bible, every time God gave a commandment or he made a promise to do something, it was always contingent upon us doing what we were supposed to do. If you follow my word, if you live this way, if you do this, if you do that, then I will bless you. It never was like, hey, go do what you want and I'm gonna bless you anyway. I'm gonna rain down blessings on you. No, that's not how it worked. It was always contingent upon us doing something. There was an action we were supposed to take. Hey, get in my word, follow my words, pray to me. I'm gonna bless you with this. Follow my commands, stay on my path. I'm gonna bless you with this. It was never, I'm gonna bless you regardless. No, that's not how it works. You see what I'm saying? So when you're out there doing stuff you're not supposed to be doing, you go in places you're not supposed to go, you're inviting that turmoil and that instability in your life. And that's why you have a life that's always seems to be filled with chaos and drama and seem like when it rains, it pours. It's because you're inviting those things to your world because you're not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. So number 16, it'll lead you into a life of turmoil and instability. And we see here with Samson, he's done so much that now he can't even go home and he had to go live in a cave. He had to abandon his home, abandon his nice comfortable bed, his nice peaceful house to go live in a cage because of the sins that he's committed. So then now, so he's done that. You know what I'm saying? He went and it said he attacked them with fury, killed many of them. And again, like I said, he brought the turmoil into his life. He's being foolish. He's number 11, where it's negatively affecting everyone around him. It's leading to more sin. Not to mention he's defiled himself by being around these dead bodies. All these things are taking place, all because, again, he was chasing a skirt that he wasn't supposed to have. So you see verse 9, it says, so the Philistines retaliated by setting up camp in Judah and raiding the town of Lehi. The men of Judah asked the Philistines, why have you attacked us? And the Philistines replied, we've come to capture Samson, and we have come to pay him back for what he did to us. So once again, number 7. Now, number 17 is going to be this, and it's kind of close to number 11, but a little bit different. Number 11, of course, was another reference. It negatively affects everyone around you, not just you. So we see, well, now his people are having to pay the cost for what he's done. So number 17 is this. Others will have to bear the cost of your sins. You know what I'm saying? Others people going to have to, not only does it negatively affect them, they have to pay the cost. Because you got to understand, it said they retaliated by setting up camp in Judah and raiding them. What happens in the raid? It ain't like they was going knocking on the door like we do when we go soul winning, handing out a little flyer like, hey, if you seen Samson, come and let us know. No, what's a raid? This was soldiers. They was going and they was kicking people doors in. They was dragging people out by their hair. You know what I'm saying? At spear point or sword point or whatever weapon they had. I'm pretty sure there was several young ladies that was abducted and raped because that's the kind of thing they did when they went and raided villages. They, you know what I'm saying, they went, when they raided, they loot and pillage. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of people that lost property. There was a lot of people that house that was burned down. I'm pretty sure there was people that was tortured because they were trying to find out where Samson was at. You know what I'm saying? These are kind of things they had. I mean, it just says raid, but you got to understand what happens during a raid. You know what I'm saying? They trying to find this man. They wanted to find this man, and they was going to do anything in their power that they can do to find this man. So it was some people. It was probably some more people died there. It didn't say people died, but I'm almost certain there was some people died. It was probably some people that was beat to death. You know what I'm saying? It was probably some people that was threatened. It was probably some people that I'm pretty sure there was women that was abducted and was raped. You know what I'm saying? All these kind of things happening. Why? Because of this man's sin. So you got to understand, number 17, others will have to bear the cost of your sin. And a lot of time it's your family. And this is a situation where his family, it's not his direct family, it's not his mom and dad, but it's his cousins, it's people from the nation of Israel. So everybody in the nation of Israel was related at some point, you know what I'm saying, in some way or form or fashion, whether it was cousins, aunts, uncles, or whatever. So this is his family, and they're paying the cost for the sins that he's committed because he went and he burnt up their fields. Now they're getting harassed. Now they're getting beaten on. Now they're being tortured. Now they're being abducted. You see what I'm saying? Other people have to pay the cost for your sins. And remember, I told y'all in the beginning, that's one of the main reasons that we continue to do stuff we do. Because you notice, again, Samson is still not affected. His family is being affected. He did, like I said, he did lose his wife, but there's somebody that wasn't loyal to him anyway. But yet, nothing has really directly affected him. He has not really been directly affected. Yeah, he had to go live in a cave, but you know what I'm saying? If he's one of those wilderness people, he might love being there anyway. You see what I'm saying? So he's not being, everybody, you notice everybody around him is being more affected by his sin than he is. And that's what happens, and that's why we keep going. It ain't hurting me. You know what I'm saying? It ain't hurt me going to having a beer, a few beers and a few shots after work. It ain't hurt me. Yeah, but it's hurting your kids. You know what I'm saying? It ain't hurting me. Yeah, it's hurting your wife because you get drunk and you go want to go and beat on her. You know, it ain't hurting me. Yeah, but your kids don't have money because you spent money to buy school supplies and school clothes because you spent it out on liquor. It does hurt everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everything you do, it hurts everybody around you. And it's other people that pays the cost. Like I said, I look at my life and what I went through because my mom, I always imagined like what I would be. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I know it was God's will, and I definitely wouldn't be what I am today. I don't think I would be what I am today, which I love what I am today, so don't get me wrong. But I also think of what my life would have been like had my mom and dad not been on crack, or if my mom just not been on crack. Because, because before she got on that drug, she was a strong woman. She worked, and she took care of me and my brother, no problem. So I always wondered what would my life have been like had she not got on those drugs. You know what I'm saying? I paid the cost for that. You know what I'm saying? I was molested as a child because she was out running the streets chasing drugs. You know what I'm saying? I got picked on in school and was emotionally scarred because she wanted to go and chase drugs instead of doing what she needed to do to take care of me. I paid that cost. My brother paid that cost. That's why he's really messed up now, because at least I got the first, 6 or 7 years when she was still good. But my brother, basically from the time he was born, like she started when he was about 3. Yeah, we've been fine. Yeah, so he was about 3 when she started the drugs. So of course he wasn't old enough to remember the good her, because he was still just really a baby. You know what I'm saying? Whereas me, I was about 8 when it started. So I do remember the good, but I remember seeing how she went from the good to the bad as well. I saw the whole thing, so her transition from being a good loving mother, a hardworking mother, to being the terrible person addicted to drugs that she ended up being. You know what I'm saying? I saw all that, but my brother never got to see any of that. So me and my brother, we paid the cost. We the one that had to pay the cost for her and her drug habit. You see what I'm saying? And that goes with any person that's addicted to drugs or have a drug addiction. Like I said, especially like that meth and stuff like that. Matter of fact, one of the guys that I'm counseling now, that's part of his story. And I asked him, like, how he ended up where he was at. And he was like, man, basically, that's my mom and dad. That's all they did. They did drugs. He's like, man, I started smoking weed with my mom when I was like 11. And I was like, dang, you know what I'm saying? He's like, I smoked weed with my mom when I was 11. He said, by the time I was in high school, I had graduated to everything else because they was doing it. Like, matter of fact, she was the one giving it for me. So, see, now he's in the rehab. You know what I'm saying? It's almost ruined this. He almost died. Matter of fact, he's in rehab because he ended up ODing. You see what I'm saying? So he almost paid the ultimate cost because of the sins of his parents. You see what I'm saying? And we do the same thing. You got to realize everything you do affects everybody around you. You know what I'm saying? Whether if you do positive, it affects them in a positive way. If you do negative, it affects them in a negative way, especially when you're dealing with sin. And a lot of time, everybody else, your people in your family, you know what I'm saying, they're paying the cost more than you are. And that's why a lot of times addicts just keep on going, because it's not really affecting them. And that's what happened with Samson. He's addicted to women. Women is his problem. And because of this women, it made him foolish. It has made him, it's made him a murderer. It's made him a vandal. All these things because he wanted to chase women. You know what I'm saying? But yet, everybody else around him is paying the cost, and he's not. And that's what happened with sin. So number 17, others will have to bear the cost of your sins. It affects everybody negatively, and also it affects everybody negatively, and other people are paying the cost. And that's why they asked them, the men of Judah, like, hold on, what's going on here? Why are y'all attacking us? And what they say, we came to pay Samson back for what he did. Well, guess what? They don't have Samson. They're not taking out their anger and frustration out on Samson. They can't find him because he's somewhere hiding in the cave. They're taking it out on his relatives. See what I'm saying? It's other people that's paying the cost for the ignorance that he's been entrapped in. So then in verse 11 it says, so 3,000 men of Judah went down to get Samson at the cave in the rock of Etam. And they said to Samson, don't you realize the Philistines rule over us? What are you doing to us? So again, there's back to 17. Like, well, why are we paying? Look what you're doing for us. You causing us to have to pay for your problem. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? What are you not considering us at all? And then what did Samson say? He said, but Samson replied, I only paid them back for what they did to me. So again, I got my revenge. They did it to me, so I did it to them. So again, there's a reference back to number 13. There's foolishness there. You know what I'm saying? Instead of letting it slide, you both was in the wrong, being a bigger man, let it slide. No, he had to go get his payback. And because he had to go get his payback, now his family is suffering. So then it says, verse 12, it said, but the men of Judah told him, we have come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines. All right, Samson said, but promise that you won't kill me yourselves. We will tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines, they replied. We won't kill you. So they tied him up with two new ropes and led him away from the rock. So number 18 is this. This is something else that is another result of sin. If you continue on that path of sin and you don't change your ways, especially when it's revealed to you, number 18 is this, you will eventually have a loss of love and loved ones. You will have a loss of love. In other words, you get to a point where people won't love you no more. People won't deal with you no more. They won't have your back no more. Because you got to think about this is his own relatives. You know what I'm saying? These are his own relatives, and his own relatives went and captured him to turn him over to the Philistines because they was done with him. You know what I'm saying? Well, we've tried to talk to you, and you keep on getting us in these bad situations, and now because of you, we've been raided. You know what I'm saying? Daughters are being abducted, and men are being tortured and beaten and pulled out of their house, all because of you. We can't do this no more. And they turned their back on them, and they went and they arrested him. They themselves went and arrested him to turn him over to the Philistines. So guess what? He just lost the love, and he just lost his loved ones. And that's what sin to do. That eventually, if you stay in sin long enough, you'll end up being lonely. You know what I'm saying? It separates you from your family. First of all, it separates you from God. That's the most important thing. But it also, you know what I'm saying, the spirit, as far as the spiritual realm goes, but it separates you from your family. And you'll end up being alone. You know what I'm saying? You end up being alone. Like, again, I bring my brother up again because this is, and I wish he was listening to this lesson, because so much of this stuff that applies to him. But you know what I'm saying, me and him talk often, and I'm really the only person in my family that deals with my brother. Most people don't, like, he can't go over most of our people. They don't even want him over. They don't even want him to know where they stay at. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking, even his own dad, you know, don't want him around. You know what I'm saying? I'm really the only one in my family that deals with him. And it's just because I know him enough, I know to deal with him, and I guess I feel a little bit of guilt, I guess, you know what I'm saying, compassion for him, because I tried to help raise him, kind of thing. And you know what I'm saying, we always got that brotherly bond because we went through the same thing. But even that, you know what I'm saying, I told y'all, I may have mentioned before, there was a period of 3 years where I didn't deal with him at all, because I had enough of him. You know what I'm saying? We went for about one time, we got it, kind of had it out, and I went for about 3 years where I didn't see him at all. I wasn't around him at all. You know what I'm saying? So even I had enough. And I mean, and he's really bad. I mean, he's burnt every bridge there is with everybody. And he's a habitual bridge burner. You know what I'm saying? He'll burn a bridge, but then when he needs somebody, he try to go back and apologize. But you know, it's only so many times you can do that. It's so many times you can get away with that before people just kind of finally wash their hands with you and be done with you. You know what I'm saying? And you'll lose that love. And once you lose that love, it's hard to get that love back. And that's what happened with Samson. They finally got to the point where he was causing them so many problems that they couldn't deal with him no more. So he lost their love. I'm sorry. Got the burps today. I guess I'm drinking all this water. But he lost their love, and now his family has turned their back on him. Again, you know, I seen it with my brother. I seen it with my mama. It's certain people in our family, like my mom can't go over their house because one thing she did to support a drug habit, not only was she did prostitution, but she also used to steal a lot. So, you know what I'm saying? So she'll go to somebody's house and leave out the house and then stole anything that was valuable that wasn't tied down. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people don't invite her over to the house. They don't even want her over there. And if she do come over, they watching her the whole time. You know what I'm saying? She go to the bathroom, they standing outside. Hey, what you doing in there? Kind of thing. You see what I'm saying? Because they had enough of her and her addiction and all the things she had done. And that's the same as the thing that's going on here with Samson. So eventually, if you stay on that path of sin, it's going to pull you away. It's going to pull you away from everything, anything that can possibly bring you peace in your life, anything that definitely can bring you closer to God, anything like that is going to pull you away from those things, and eventually you're going to end up alone. You know what I'm saying? Because especially if you don't get saved, because that's what hell is. Hell is a place of darkness and loneliness. See what I'm saying? And that's definitely the very end result of sin is hell, especially if you don't get saved before you go through that door called death. So you got to understand that it wants you to be alone. Because when you're alone, when you're alone, you don't have nobody to give you the wisdom or the counsel to say, hey, don't do that. Hey, that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? You don't have that when you're alone, and it allows the devil and the evil to be able to persuade you to do whatever it wants you to do because it got you all to itself. So that's what happened. You'll end up lonely, and you have a loss of love and loved ones. So now he's done so much, and he's got his people, he's been in trouble so much, he's got the people so much trouble that they don't even want to deal with him no more. So they themselves, the Philistines, and all they did was went and raided, but they themselves went and captured him to take him to the Philistines. Why? Because he had that loss of love and loved ones. Because of that sin he was in. They got to the point where they were like, I'm done with him. They, you know what I'm saying, turn their back on him. Like I said, I've seen it happen several times. Y'all probably got some people in y'all family that you can't deal with. You know what I'm saying? People, oh man, this is such a, or it might be a friend. Oh man, I can't deal with such and such. I ain't going around him. I already know what he's about. That's what happened when you stay on that path of sin. You'll end up alone and by yourself, and not only alone from physical, but it'll keep you away from God as well. And that's a really lonely place to be, because again, that's what hell is. Hell is a place of darkness and loneliness, and it is a place where you're separated from the love of God. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happened. Samson, he gets separated from the love of his family, but ultimately too, he's going to be separated from the love of God because of the path that he's going to, because of this path that he's on that's riddled with sin. So then after that, so they told him, they came, his family got fed up with him. They tired of him constantly messing them over. They tired of him stealing from their houses. They tired of him, you know what I'm saying, bringing all this negativity to it. So they got fed up with him. They captured him and took him to the Philistines. So in verse 14 it says, so as Samson arrived at Lehi, the Philistines came out shouting in triumph. No, they came out shouting. They were happy because they finally was able to capture their enemy. So number 19 is this. This is another result of sin, and this is one of the worst ones as well. And this is one we don't even think about a lot, but I see this a lot, especially in the ministry. Number 19 is this. It provides God's enemies the opportunity to despise and blaspheme him. Again, let me read that again. It provides God's enemies the opportunity to despise and blaspheme him. Because what did it say? It said they came out in triumph. In other words, you know what I'm saying, because the reason why they hadn't been able to touch him thus far, the reason why they hadn't been able to do anything with him thus far, because God's hand of protection was on them. You know what I'm saying? Now, they didn't know it was God's hand of protection that was on them, that was keeping them sustained, but it was God's hand of protection that was on them. But now that he's captured him, they're celebrating. Oh, we got him. You see what I'm saying? If you read over in the book of, I think it's 2 Samuel, 1 Samuel, is it 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel? One of the book of Samuel, you find it, you go research and read it. But we look at it as one of the famous stories of David and Bathsheba. And y'all know what happened. Y'all heard me bring this up several times before, but he basically the same thing as Samson. He saw a girl that he wanted. She was taking a bath and she was naked and she was so fine that he ended up, hooking up with her, got her pregnant. And then, to cover it up, he tried to get her husband to have sex with her, which he wouldn't do. And then he eventually had the husband killed, and he took the woman as his wife. And y'all remember a little bit after that happened, Nathan the prophet came in. God sent Nathan the prophet to confront David about it. And the thing that he told David, he said, no, David, finally confess his sin. Lord, I'm sin. Have mercy on me. And what did Nathan the prophet say? He said, don't worry, you're not going to die for the sin. He said, but you are going to be punished because it provided God's enemies the opportunity to despise and blaspheme him. In other words, you made God look bad. You were somebody that God, when God first talked about David, he said he was a man after my own heart. So you got somebody that's that big. He's a leader. He's the king of God's people. He's somebody that God said is after his own heart. And he's supposed to be a shining example of what it means to be a godly man. And he's out there doing something like that. It make God look bad. And it gives the atheists and the humanists and all these people they now they got some ammunition in their guns, so they say, see that's why that's why I hate when this situation broke out. I'm glad it happened because they was exposed, but the whole thing with the Catholic Church and the priest that was molesting little boys. Or anytime you see a church group where the preachers are molesting kids or hooking up with people's wives or stealing money from the church, all those things like that. What it does, it gives the naysayers, it gives the God haters ammunition to use against God. It justifies them in their own action to say, see, that's why, that's why, he's supposed to be a preacher and he touched little boys. That's why I don't believe in God. You see what I'm saying? It gives them ammunition. It gives them that leeway to be able to say, why would I serve God if these kind of people are the one? If these kind of people are supposed to be God's people and they're behaving like this, why would I serve God? You see what I'm saying? It gives the naysayers, it gives the unbelievers, it gives them the opportunity to despise and blaspheme God. And that's what Samson did by living the way that he was living and doing the things he was doing. These people are celebrating because they feel like now they defeated God because God is the one that's giving him the strength. He's supposed to be a judge. He was supposed to be the representative of God's people, and he's out here acting a fool. He's out here chasing booty that he's not supposed to have, and now he's got captured. So now all these people are celebrating because they're like, we didn't defeat God kind of thing. But at the same time, like I told y'all, reference back to number 5, we got to remember, our faithlessness, which we can see this guy has not been faithful, our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. Because watch what happened after that. So it says, now Samson arrived at Lehi, the Philistines came out shouting in triumph. So again, they blaspheming God because, they worship pagan God. She said, but the Spirit of the Lord powerfully took control of Samson, and he snapped the ropes on his arm as if they were burnt strands of flax, and they fell from his wrist. Now get this, another mighty miracle. Then he picked up a donkey's jawbone that was lying on the ground and killed 1,000 Philistines with it. So once again, what happened? Once again, God showed up. Even though he's been unfaithful, the Spirit of God still showed up. So God's faithfulness is still not diminished by our faithlessness. And that was one of the points that we have. That was number 5 from last week. And of course, not a result of sin, but it's just something you see when you're sinning, when you step to that life of sin. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of time, the devil convinces you, oh, you're too terrible. I've had so many people say, oh, with the stuff I've done, God can't forgive me. It'll have you thinking that you're so bad, such a bad person, you're such a sinful person that God don't want you anymore. But we got to understand, God is faithful. God is faithful and just to forgive us if we truly repent and we turn our heart back toward him. You see what I'm saying? But you got to understand that. So God's going to be faithful even when we're not. So that's what happened. So because God was faithful, his Spirit took over him again. And yeah, think about it. He was fighting soldiers. Now this is a situation where I know that he was fighting soldiers. So he was fighting guys that had shields and spears and swords, and all he had was the the jawbone of a donkey, and he killed 1,000 people. So, but once again, what's happening? Negatively affecting everybody else. Other people are paying the cost. So we add that up. So we got so far we got the 30 that he killed when he robbed the guys. You got the 2 from his wife and his dad. You got those 2. That's 32. We got the 50. We just said 50 from earlier in this chapter where he attacked the Philistines and killed some of them. So that's 82. And now we got another 1,000. So we got over 1,000 people that have lost their lives because one man one day saw something and he lusted after the other. He felt that he had to have it. Y'all understand how significant? All he did was made a decision that he wanted a piece of booty that he wasn't supposed to have, and now because of him, over 1,000 people have lost their lives. You know what I'm saying? Millions of dollars in property damage have lost. You know what I'm saying? He's lost his family. You know what I'm saying? His family has turned his back on him. He got turmoil and instability in his life. He's become a fool. See what I'm saying? These are the things that sin do to your life. That's why the Bible says stay away from these things. Don't do this. Don't do that. It's not God trying to spoil your fun. It's not God trying to hold you down and keep you from enjoying his life. That's why Jesus said, I came to give you life and give it more abundantly. He's actually telling you the things you need to do so you can have peace in your life, so you can have true joy in your life, so you can have the grace of God in your life. See, this is the kind of things that sin does. Not to mention, once again, he's defiled himself again. You know what I'm saying? Because he just killed 1,000 more dudes. So he's once again around dead bodies. Again, number 6. It says, because matter of fact, he said he killed 1,000 Philistines with it. And Samson said, with the jawbone of a donkey, I've made heaps on heaps. With the jawbone of a donkey, I've killed 1,000 men. So once again, we see the sin constantly escalating. He's a murderer. Once again. Everybody's being negatively affected around them. I mean, it goes on and on and on. It never stops. It snowballs and it gets worse and worse and worse the more that you give into it. That's why you got to stay away from sin, because you're going to lose God's grace in your life. And that's why God says, again, don't do this or make sure you do this, because he's trying to keep you away from this stuff that's sin. Look what Samson's going through. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be a Nazarite. He's supposed to be a beacon of light in the darkness that they was because they was under the oppression of the Philistines. But look what he's going through. You know what I'm saying? And he's not going to be able to live up to his full potential because he's never doing the things that he's supposed to be doing for the Lord. He's constantly trying to fulfill his own flesh. And that's what happens. It puts you on this path that he's stuck in this sin. So now, again, he's a murderer. He defiled himself. You know what I'm saying? Where was I at here? And then it says, it provided God's enemy. He gave God's enemies the opportunity to despise and blaspheme God. All these things because of these bad decisions he's making, because he's still choosing to do what he wants to and give into his flesh instead of doing what he's supposed to do. So then in verse 17 it says, so when he finished saying this, he threw away the jawbone, and the place was named Jawbone Hill. Now Samson was very thirsty, and he cried out to the Lord, you have accomplished this great victory by the strength of your servant. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of these pagan people? So number 20 is this. And this is one of y'all remember when the very first time I got into doing the lessons on the vicious cycle, one of the main things I said was an inconsistency in your relationship with the Lord. So number 20 is this. It'll make you inconsistent in your relationship with the Lord. That's what that inconsistency come from, because of that sin that's in your life. That's why you had that inconsistency. Because you see now that he's in a situation where he feel like he's about to die. He's in a bad situation. What is he doing? He's calling out to the Lord. But had he been calling out to the Lord and listened to the Lord from the beginning, he wouldn't even be in this situation. You see what I'm saying? But now he's calling, because you think, oh, well, at least he's calling out to the Lord. Yeah, because he wants something. And that's what most of us do. We only call out to the Lord when we want something. We only do things for the Lord when we want something for ourselves. That's the only time we really put in the effort into serving the Lord or doing what the Lord wants us to do or being what the Lord wants us to be, when we want something from the Lord. You know what I'm saying? When we want something from God, oh man, we'll pray to paint off the walls. When we want something from God, you know what I'm saying? We'll burn holes in our knees when we want something from God. But when we got those things, when everything is all good, we don't care about God. You see what I'm saying? When everything's all good, we don't care about God. God is the last. I'd be the first to tell y'all, before I started serving God 18 years ago, most of my days, when I think back on most of my days, God was the last thing that was on my mind. You know what I'm saying? Most of my days. It was the last thing that was on my mind most of my days. Most of my days was spent thinking about what girl I want to hook up with, how much money I want to make, how much drugs I want to do that day. God was the last thing in my mind. And that's because I was sin was so ingrained in me, and I was so immersed in my sins that it made me be inconsistent. And of course, when bad stuff happened, oh God, please, Lord, help me. You know what I'm saying? But like I've told y'all before, y'all heard me say it a million times, and you can probably hear me say it a million times again. You got to serve the Lord every day. You got to work on your relationship. You got to walk with the Lord every day. 3 things you should be doing every day: praying, reading your Bible, looking for a chance to tell people about the Lord. That's something you should do every day. If you do that every day, you'll be consistent in your relationship with the Lord. But if you live in sin and you constantly sinning, you're not going to have that consistent relationship. You're only going to go to the Lord when you need something. And a lot of times, sometimes he might bless you, and sometimes he might not. You know what I'm saying? He might have had enough of your stuff too. Now, in this situation, again, we're going to see another reference, number 5. God's faithfulness. Our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. Because it says, so he called out to the Lord because he wanted something. You know what I'm saying? He ain't asked God for guidance on which girl he should be married. He ain't asked God for guidance on should he be taking revenge on these Philistines for what they did. But now that he needs something, he's about to die of thirst, he calls out to the Lord. So he called out to the Lord, and it says, so God caused water to gush out of a hollow in the ground in Lehi, and Samson was revived as he drank. Then he named that place the spring of the one who cried out, and it is still in Lehi until this day. So once again, even though he's hard-headed, he's defiled himself, he's murdered people, he's been drinking, you know what I'm saying? He's robbed people, he's vandalized, caused millions of dollars in property damage, but yet God is still with him. And that's what I'm saying, y'all. That's what I got to understand. You know what I'm saying? That was, I think, Paul, one of my favorite guys. There's so many times, I can't tell you how many times when I'm talking to people about God that I quote Paul. I love Paul. I love his way of thinking. But he said, I'm convinced that there's nothing in this world, there's nothing in heaven, and there's nothing in the bottom of the sea, and there's nothing in the heavens, nothing that's in existence that can separate you from the love of God. And this shows you that Samson is being hard-headed. Y'all see the whole point is called the result of sin. We're seeing all the things that he's doing. We're seeing all the sins that he's committing. We're seeing how he's constantly running farther and farther away from the Lord. We see how he's getting farther and farther away from his purpose. But yet, when he called out to God, God was still there for him. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because again, our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. You know what I'm saying? He's still going to be faithful, even when we're not doing what we're supposed to do. You know, and because he know we always have the potential. He's always waiting for that day when we realize that we're going the path that we're on, and we make that turn for the better and give our hearts back to him. That's what the Lord is waiting on. He know, and as we see with Samson, when you look at Samson, y'all see we've got one more chapter to go. You know what I'm saying? And he still got some more stuff we're going to do. But you see, this dude was hard-headed. He was so far away from God. He was so far away from being the Nazarite he's supposed to be, but yet God was still with him because God is faithful and just to forgive us. You see what I'm saying? You got to understand that. There's nothing you can do to separate you from the love of God other than deny that love. And eventually, Samson's going to do enough where he's going to lose that love of God. He's going to lose that grace of God. But for right now, even though he's done as much as he has, God is still showing up in a mighty way and blessing him what he needed. So then the last line, and this is gonna be my last point for the day, and I'm gonna be done for the day. I'm actually under my time, so I'm doing good. The last point is this, verse number 20, and it's gonna be point number 21. Samson was Israel's judge for 20 years while the Philistines ruled in the land. So number 20 is this. 21 is this, and then my last point for the night, and we'll hopefully finish up this lesson next week. Number 21 is this. It limits the time that you could have. It limits the time that you could have used for God's work. You know what I'm saying? He was only a judge for 20 years. And you remember how he's going to die. He's going to end up killing himself because he's going to get captured. And I know I'm getting away to end it. Hopefully y'all should know the story of Samson. Y'all know how it ends. It ends bad. He's going to end up killing himself. But imagine had he been doing what he's supposed to have been doing. Imagine what he has been. He probably could have been Israel judge for 40 years. He probably could have been Israel judge for 60 years. But because he was on that path that sin, because he kept sinning, he only got in 20 years. See, when you're sinning, it takes away time from that you can be doing God's work. Y'all remember I told y'all I stopped smoking weed finally 3 years ago. Hopefully I stick with it. It's been 3 years so far, and I'm trying to make it another 3 years and another 30 years if I live that long to stay away from the stuff. And the reason why I finally gave it up because I realized how much time I was putting into smoking, how much time I was spending high, how much time and effort I was spending. And I realized all the time and effort I was spending to there was because I didn't like it buy it here in town because everybody would know and I didn't want to lose my job. So I would go all the way down to Nashville to pick it up. Or sometimes, for a while, I was going over to Hickman County to pick it up. You know what I'm saying? Nashville is almost 2 hours away. Hickman County is, depending on which route you go, almost an hour away. You know what I'm saying? There's an hour there and an hour back. And a lot of time, the people I was getting from, we were pretty cool. They smoke weed, I smoke weed. So it ain't like I just went and got to their place, grabbed it and left and came straight back. No, I would probably hang out with them for an hour or two. So, I mean, basically, anytime I need to go get more weed, that was 2-3 hours gone out of my life that I could have been spending in God's word. I could have been praying with somebody. I could have been teaching, doing these Facebook Live. You know what I'm saying? I could have been leading somebody to the Lord. There was so much things I could have been doing at the time. Or just spending time with my family. You know what I'm saying? I could have been spending time. This time I could have been using had I been doing what I was supposed to be doing. But because I was doing stuff that I wasn't supposed to be doing, I wasted that time. And that's what sin does. Sin, it'll put you in a position where you're constantly wasting time. You know what I'm saying? When I talk to the guys in jail, I always tell them the worst part about you being in here is the time that you lose while you're in here. You're losing so much time. Majority of the guys that are in there had kids. There's time they know you gone 2-3 years. You know how much stuff can happen in a kid's life in 2-3 years? That's time you'll never be able to get back. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys was married. They in jail for 2-3 years. You know what I'm saying? You know how much stuff will happen in a woman's life in 2-3 years? That's time they'll never get back. And sometimes they get out and the woman's still waiting on them. Sometimes they get out and the woman's gone. You know what I'm saying? Rightly so. You know what I'm saying? She ain't got time to be waiting around for you to get your stuff together. When you chose, and I'm pretty sure whatever you was in there for, she probably told you to stop doing it in the first place. Because I remember when I was selling weed and me and Rez together, I remember this. I'll never forget this. She told me this one time. She said, look, I know you're doing what you feel you have to do. She said, but I'm going to let you know right now, I don't support it. She said, I'm not going to make you stop because that's only going to cause tension between us. She said, but I'm going to let you know. If something ever happened and you get busted and you go to jail, don't expect me to be waiting for you when you get out. She told me that right up front. Just let me know. She said, she said, I understand you feel you're doing what you got to do. I'm not going to try to change who you are. I'm not going to try to force you to do whatever. She said, but just know if you get caught, then don't expect me to be here waiting for you kind of thing. That's what I'll never forget that. She told me that. You know what I'm saying? So I always had that in the back of my head, like, don't get caught. You know what I'm saying? I should have been like, well, I need to leave this alone. But in my back of my mind, I just better not to get caught. Because, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want to lose my girl kind of thing. But, you know what I'm saying? It limits the time. You can be doing so many more productive things for God. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about earlier. You know what I'm saying? Sin, it makes you productive but for the wrong reasons. But see what I'm saying? And it keep you, and so it kind of mirrors that a little bit, which was number 14. It kind of mirrors, it limits the time that you could have used for God's work because you're chasing sin. I can't, like I said, I think when I look at all the money and the time that I lost dealing with marijuana, man, I wish I can get it back. Now that I know what I know now, I wish I can get it back, but I can't. I wasted that time. So all I can do is go forward and try to make better use of my time and try to convince others to do the same. And you won't be able to do that if you continue to walk down that path of sin. It's not going to end good for you, and you're going to lose a lot of time that you could have been using doing the work that God has for you to do. So that's it for tonight, y'all. Did pretty good. Stayed pretty close to my time. And again, you know what I'm saying? I know there's a lot of references, but I had a lot of new stuff in there as well. And I hope this stuff is helping y'all. If you got sins in your life, I'm hoping it's helping you see it. But more important, I'm hoping because you see we're building towards something. We're kind of journeying towards something, and we're journeying toward the end of that path of sin, that sin path. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing the results. We're seeing all these results that's happening as we're going down this journey. But next week, God willing, next Monday night, 7 o'clock, we'll be back here and we will finish up the story. And we're going to see what's at the end of that path. We're going to finally get to see how this story is going to end. And it's going to end tragically. I'm going to let you know right ahead of time. It's going to end tragically. And anytime you got sin in your life that really constitute everything you do, and it's something what you get your whole heart into, it's going to end bad. It's not going, like I said earlier, you're not winning when you're sinning. It's not going to end good for you. And I'm hoping as we go through these lessons, you will see that. You will see why God said, don't do this. Or you will see why God said you need to do that. Because it was trying to keep you off this dark path that you get, that you would journey down if you don't follow God's word. And you walk down that path and you're more concerned with feeding your flesh and serving yourself than you are serving the Lord. It's not going to end good for you or nobody else in your world, and it negatively affects everybody around you. So I thank y'all for joining me tonight. Of course, I got my ending announcements. That's part 3, and like I said, God willing, part 16 is a long chapter, but again, it's going to be a lot of references. There's a few new points, but it's going to be a lot of references, so I should be able to finish it up next week. That's going to be my goal, at least. So again, if there's anything in particular you would like for me to talk about that I haven't covered already, in certain stories that I haven't already covered that y'all like me to discuss coming up, please let me know, and I can work into my lesson plan. As of right now, next Monday, my plan is to finish up this story, and then after that, I'm going to finish up Judges. But if somebody got something better they want me to do, let me know. I can always work that into my lesson plan. Be sure to share the videos, telling others about the videos. It's been a blessing. So many people that is hearing it, that's watching the videos that I didn't even know that I'm finding out about. So there's been a blessing. Even though we don't get a big showing live, I guess people watch it later on at their own leisure, but that's a blessing. But keep sharing the videos, telling people about it. I got several members from the church that told other people about it, so that's been a blessing. So y'all keep doing this so this ministry can go, but more importantly, so this word can get out. I think it can really help people if people will be willing to sacrifice the time to put into it to listen. Of course, if you're watching this and you're not 100% sure about your salvation, you're not 100% sure that if you was to die, you was to go to heaven when you go through that door called death, please reach out to me and let me know so we can set up some time and I can go to the gospel with you, or maybe lead you to somebody. If you don't want to talk to me because I'm so long-winded, maybe lead you to somebody that will be able to share the gospel with you, because that's the most important decision you ever make. And I really would hate for you to watch the show and sit here and listen to me all this time and not know that if you go through that door called death, you will get to go to heaven. And then last but not least, reach out to me if you need any kind of spiritual counseling, you got any kind of questions, Bible questions. I'm not a theologian, but I do my best to answer your question with the wisdom God has given me. And if I don't have an answer for you right then and there, I do the research I need to so I can find the answer for you. So just reach out to me and let me know. And as always, you can go to my YouTube page if you want to check out some of my old sermons, especially if you haven't caught part 1 and 2 of this sermon. You want to go check it out. You can go to my YouTube page. Actually, I haven't got this on YouTube just yet. I'm about 3 or 4 weeks behind. I haven't had a lot of time because my assistant's on vacation this week, so I haven't had a whole lot of time. And I've been having some stuff going on, looking for a new vehicle for the family. So I've been pretty busy, but hopefully I'll be able to get them on pretty soon. But up except for maybe the last 3 lessons, everything's on my YouTube page. So if you want to check it out, go to youtube.com, put in God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries, just like it's written here. And you can go to my channel and find out my old sermons. So again, I thank y'all for joining me. God willing, I will be back next Monday night at 7 o'clock. And we'll get to the exciting conclusion of how this road of sin is going to end for this man Samson. And I'm going to let you know it's not going to be good, but you got to get back. The lesson should be good, but the way it's going to end is not going to be good. It finally fell on me. So I guess it's telling me I need to hurry up. So again, thank y'all for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and pray, and I'm going to get out of here. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us today. Once again, thank you for this wonderful lesson. Thank you for letting your spirit guide me through this lesson to bring out these points, these important truths about the things that happen when you just live a life of sin, Lord. We do those things that we're not supposed to be doing and go those places we're not supposed to be going. It always sets off a chain of events, Lord, and just help people see it affects everybody. It's not just, oh, it's just I'm fine and I'm having fun. It's just, it's not hurting anybody else. That is a lie, Lord. It hurts everybody. As we can see here so far in this story, this man has killed over 1,000 people, all because of him making a bad decision about a woman that he's wasn't supposed to be with in the first place. So just help us see the sin in our lives that's keeping us from doing the work that you have for us to do. Those sin that Paul talked about that so easily besets us, Lord. If we have any in our lives, bring us a conviction about them, and so we can get away from them, get rid of them, Lord, so we can serve your purpose and your will and live our lives the way you have us live, Lord. And we just thank you for this lesson tonight. Thank you for all those that's joined in live, Lord, that keeps me encouraged, and thank you for the ones that's going to watch the videos later on as well. I just pray that either way they watch them, that they get a blessing from it, and more important, it helps them continue to build a relationship with you. So watch over us as we finish up this night. Keep us all safe. Be with all your servants. Give us all your power, love, and wisdom, and the encouragement we need to keep going forward and doing your work. Be with all the churches that truly spread your word. Continue to help them grow, prosper, reach out to the community, change the lives of others, and capture lost souls of men. And just continue to use all your servants to keep us humble, to do our part, to support your pastors and your churches, Lord. Just continue to help us do our part to honor and glorify your name and actually build your kingdom. Keep us safe throughout the night and wake us up tomorrow with another day so we can honor and glorify your holy name. We love you and thank you for all you've done and given. And I say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. So I thank you for joining me. The phone thing, it had enough of me talking, I guess, and it just went on. I got to see about getting this thing reinstalled or whatever. But I thank y'all for joining me tonight. Again, I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and be back with me next Monday at 7 so we can have the exciting conclusion. But until then, I love y'all. I'm praying for y'all. Y'all continue to pray for me. And just remember to always watch your back and pray. Peace.